I'd love to have the opportunity to get my car and go to Kent Dodd's house in Hampton, Virginia. Say, Kent, get in the car. Let's go take a ride. And just go up on a mountaintop somewhere and just sit by the ocean or somewhere and just say, Kent, guess what, buddy? It's over. You've lived a hell of a life in the last 50 years. Wondering what happened to Margie. Here's what happened to her.
Welcome to Creepalachia. It is an investigation episode, and because of that, we have the wonderful Josie Moore in the studio with us, and we have Frank Pack, who is retired now from, let's talk about your backstory of where you worked in law enforcement exactly. But today is about Margie Dodd. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but we're going to go through some backstory with Frank. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I hope it helps the family.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna try and put some information out here, at least memorialize Margie, and again, the family is supposed to come in later this summer, early fall. So, these details being out there is gonna do some good. The amount of good, I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. But thank you. And so tell me about you. Where'd you grow up? Let's start there first.
I grew up out next to Grandview. And all my life, I had a great respect for policemen. And one day I was working at BJW Printers. I was 21 years old, and I was printing applications for Beckley PD. And I thought, well, looky here. And I kept one of the applications out, and I filled it out, and they called me to take the test. Back then, and I guess you still do, I'm not sure, had to take a civil service test, an extensive polygraph and background examination. And I was hired, and I worked Uniform Division for about 2 years. That included going to State Police Academy and all that. And then I was transferred to the Detective Bureau. And I spent the majority of the remainder of my career in the Detective Bureau. And during that time is when the Margie Dodd case happened. And I started working with a Preston Gooden from the state police. He and I started investigating the case, and we was working at about 17 hours a day. We worked this case for about 2 years. Then when it started getting colder and colder, we still did some follow-up work on it, but I was transferred to a task force. And then I was made that task force with the FBI, DEA, and ATF. And then in 1994, I went to the FBI Academy. Then I returned back to Beckley and spent my last 2 years on the road. I was a supervisor of a patrol division.
Yeah. So the FBI Academy, what was that for?
They pick less than 1% of the police officers across the nation to attend the FBI Academy. And I was fortunate enough to be one of them. It's for extensive training.
Right.
And it's extensive training, physically and mentally.
Let's go into that. So it's like the Top Gun for Police Academy, kind of.
Yeah,
sort of.
It's State Police Academy. It's very mental and physical. They are on you, and you got to keep your room spick and span.
Okay.
It's just kind of like the military. But now at the FBI Academy, we had maids to come in and clean up our room and all. But once you walked in to the classroom, you was just in awe. They had the best in the world of instructors. And then the physical part of it was good too, but it was fun. They would do body measurements, stretch test, and running test, and time you on all that the day that you got there, and then they would redo it on the day that you left. It was amazing of the difference. We ran 10 miles every day except Thursday. And on Thursday, we'd run 20. It's called a challenge run. And it was a hell of an opportunity. Excuse me.
That's awesome. So, how long was it?
3.5 months.
3.5 months. Man, it's like boot camp, kind of. I mean, but with maids.
Yeah. Oh, it was boot camp with maids. But it's those that you wasn't looking at the ending date.
Mm-hmm.
You was just in awe every time that you went to class, because you were getting the cases that they'd present to you were actual cases from all over the world. For instance, we went through the high-ranking murders.
Mm-hmm.
They had cities set up that they had built. The rooms were if, for instance, this room right here, if a murder happened in it, they had a model of this room to the exact detail sitting in their classroom.
Oh, wow.
It was unbelievable, the attention that they put on it. It was just a wonderful thing. And it was just, and you could bring a case with you and present the case to the class and get input from the classmates, what they think you either did right or did wrong or suggest that you do in the future. And of course, my case was Margie Dodd.
Yeah, man. And we'll get into Margie's in a second. I'm curious, early on, your passion for law enforcement. Why did you initially get into it?
Well, I always, like I said, I had a lot of respect for police officers. I never knew any when I was growing up, but the ones that I seen, I had respect for, and I thought, I want to be like that one of these days. And I never was interested in writing tickets. I wrote a few, but that wasn't my thing. I wanted to work criminal investigation, and nothing gave me better pleasure than knocking on a door and saying, hey, we found your property that was stolen yesterday, because a lot of it had sentimental value and so on. And that's where I got my reward and just made me feel good.
So you got to do that a lot?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but our detective bureau there at the Beckley Police Department at that time, and I'm sure they're that way now, we cleared a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. And I was good to people and treated people right. And if people knew something, they'd call and tell me what they knew. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of it just wasn't my talent. It was the people that would call and give you information. Somebody made a statement one time, a police department is only as good as its citizens will let it be.
Mm.
And our citizens really stepped up and fed us information, and I would never, ever reveal who told me what. Mm-hmm. Even on a witness stand, I wouldn't reveal it.
Yeah.
What was that like working in the detective bureau? Because obviously, you're not, a lot of times, you're not the initial officers to the scene, but you get called after, if the case looks like it needs to be investigated more. So what was your process like when you guys get handed a case?
Anything major robbery, mm-hmm. major breaking and entering, murder, anything, even a death that was not suspicious, they would still call us out, and we would come to the scene. And our first job was to do the crime scene investigation. And that was number one, get it right then. We've stayed in a crime scene area as much as 2 and 3 days because we knew once we left, you couldn't go back. And no matter how many suspects you developed in the future, if you didn't do your job at the crime scene and gather the evidence and gather it properly, then you couldn't use it or didn't have it.
Yeah.
And so it all started at the crime scene.
Gotcha. So you couldn't go back. So meaning it could be argued in court that something happened in between the time since you left, but between
exactly.
when you come.
The chain of custody, as they call it.
Got it.
If you got the evidence then and got it properly, they'd say, well, you're trying to, an attorney, a defense attorney, if the facts are not in his favor, then he'll attack your evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll say, well, you try to gather this evidence and gear it towards my client.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got that evidence back before we even knew your client.
Yeah.
So the crime scene, to me, was one of the most important things. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go to so many schools over a 12-year period that the judges allowed me to testify as an expert in fingerprint comparison and investigations. And so fingerprints was my thing, and I kind of did that when we went into a crime scene, and then you had other people that look for fluids and just different things. But everybody kind of had their...
How do you find fingerprints? I've always been curious. You got the dust, and then you kind of... How does that work?
Well, you got dust, you got sprays, different type of sprays, and so on. It's all on your fingers. Everybody's got ridges on their fingers that were started to develop 3 months in the womb. And you keep your same fingerprints unless you have a catastrophic event to happen on one of your fingers, to lose the skin. But you'd have to lose all layers of your skin to even lose your fingerprint then.
Mm.
But your fingerprints are always with you. They're always different. And you got ridges on your fingers, so if you pick up a glass, you just don't slide off and fall on the ground. And oils come and they get on those ridges. And any items that you touch leaves those oils. Fingerprints have been developed they developed after thousands of years.
Hmm.
I'm curious, when you talk about trials, if you ever had any before Judge Kirkpatrick, if you guys ever overlapped at all.
Yeah.
Just because we know Kirkpatrick from other cases.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, a lot of people fell in love with the recent trial, fell in love with Kirkpatrick. I have admired Judge Kirkpatrick back in the 70s or 80s.
Mm-hmm.
From day one, when he stepped in a robe, he was one of the nicest, most fair people in the world. If you walked out of a courtroom and you lost the case, you might blame it on anything in this world, but you wouldn't blame it on Judge Kirkpatrick because he gave you a fair trial.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful person.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And for context, he was the judge on the Natalie Cocker trial, which me and Josie know a little about. I'm sure, Frank, you followed it. But yeah, that's good to know. So, when you get to a scene, I guess the first thing you do is contain the area. So you kind of...
contain the area.
Mm-hmm.
At every crime scene, a person either takes something away or leaves something of themselves there.
Mm-hmm.
And your job is to find both. Normally, you're looking for something that they left behind. And it could be a hair. It could be, back in my day, we didn't have DNA. You had...
which comes into play for Margie Dodd later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You had the biology, the comparing of blood, semen, fingerprints, hair. We had a lot of tools, but DNA, it was a game changer. And when I went to the FBI Academy, they started talking about DNA. And my jaw just dropped like, what the heck are you talking about?
It's like the iPhone came out.
Back then, it was pretty, it was still real basic.
Mm-hmm.
They started talking about PCR, which you could take a piece of DNA that was too small to identify, but you could keep copying it and make it big. That's kind of a simplistic way to put it, but and use it. But since then, it is just caught on fire. I'm going to tell you, it's unbelievable. I can even remember a case on fingerprints. We were so limited on what we could do with a print. And I was working a murder case, and I had developed a print in that murder case. And I sent it to the FBI to see if they could match it. They got millions of fingerprints. They said, today's your lucky day. Said the guy that does the matching of the fingerprints has family in Beckley, West Virginia. And if this turns out that he can find the owner of this prints, he would love to come to Beckley to be able to testify.
Oh, wow.
And he had developed a new program that he could take that one card that we sent in and run it against every card in the FBI. And every step that you took, it limited, like, okay, this is a whirl. So all other prints we can forget. Mm-hmm. And then you look at a whirl, Wes has got an island in it over here. We can eliminate all them. And he got it down, and he called me and said, right here's the guy that owns your fingerprints.
Oh, wow. And then what case was that?
It was a magistrate that was killed.
Oh, okay.
Did he end up coming to testify? And
yeah. We arrested a boy from Rand, West Virginia on that case.
Wow.
He had left his print like that down on a wall.
Mm-hmm. And you're holding your hand on the side of the wall for people listening.
Yeah, on the side of the wall, but it's real low down next to the baseboard where a normal visitor wouldn't put their hand. And when he found out that we had to print, he said, oh, I was in there in June and visited her.
Whoops.
Well, we went through her checkbook, and Heck's department store at the time that was down on, I'm still calling it Valley Drive, but Robert C. Byrd Drive now, where Ollie's is. There was a check written to Heck's. And her sister said she painted that house, the inside of the house, in October. He said he was there June. She painted it. So we took that check to Heck's, and they looked up the checks in their file and got a register tape, and it showed that she bought a Code 59, which is a gallon of paint. We took that gallon of paint that would have that number on it, a Code 59, and sent it to the FBI. And we took a chainsaw and cut out part of her wall and sent it to them. They said, yep, that's the same paint.
wow.
So we proved that. You didn't do that in June, buddy.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so you can paint over fingerprints, right? If they would have painted.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
What year was this? Or do you know about? What year?
Oh, it's in the 80s.
In the 80s.
Wow.
Is it crazy for you? Like, obviously, like that kind of police work, a lot of it is you have to go in person. Like, you know, the documents aren't online. People have to like thumb through it. Do you ever think like, if I had all the resources that police officers have now, like how much, I don't know, simpler cases would have been, or how much, you know, maybe more you could have done? Or...
Yeah. Has it deterred crime? You know, having DNA and all these things?
Yeah, and your criminals getting smarter too. They know that if you can get a fingerprint off a door handle, they'll wipe the door handle. If you can get DNA off this, then they'll wipe this. But they always make a mistake. I don't care how brilliant they are or how brilliant they think they are. They'll make a mistake. You know, like a woman living alone. like this one did. And you go in and the seat up on the commode. A woman don't do that.
Oh, okay.
So you fingerprint it, or if they use the bathroom, then you try to get DNA off the rim, because you know how men are.
Well, the killer had manners.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, let me lift the seat first.
He was geared that way and been taught that way, and it's just a habit to him.
Mm.
But there are just so many things that you just got to think. You can't walk in there and see that lid up on that commode and think, or not think. You got to say, oh, that woman lives by herself. There's a reason that lid's up.
Yeah. That's, I like the way you put that. There's a mistake there. It's your job to find it.
It's your job to find it.
Yeah.
I've never been to a crime scene yet where they didn't leave anything. Now, sometimes it may not be worth the effort to stay there for days to find it. But any homicide or death, it's worth every minute of it.
Did you have different experts you bring in? Like if there's blood, you have a blood expert come in or like on the crime scene? Or were you trained to generally do a lot of it?
Our training was to detect it and obtain it, and how to preserve it, and how to get it to the lab. And then it's their job to identify it and compare it to any suspects that you may send to them.
Mm. So you wear gloves, watch where you step, all
absolutely. That was extremely important. You don't want to bring in evidence of your own in there and contaminate the scene.
Yeah. For instance, if you was to find a hair, I mean, it's going to take you a little time to do that, and you got to be sure to not contaminate it before you get there.
We have before gone to a scene, and 2 or 3 officers had gone into the scene to clear the house, not knowing if the person that was responsible for the death may still be there. It wasn't likely, but they'd still go in and check, and we would fingerprint them and send it in to be sure that we wasn't getting our own fingerprints.
Oh, okay. That's a good little backup test there. Interesting. What was your caseload like at any time? Usually, I think people don't realize how many cases are on someone's desk at any given time, even in a rural area.
In Beckley, coming through to the uniform division had their own job to do. They was out traffic enforcing, working wrecks, and so on. But some of the smaller crimes, we would ask them to also take some of their time and investigate them. We got more of the major things. Well, any breaking and entering, any grand larceny, any death, of course. At any one time, we would, in a week's time, we'd probably get 20 or 30 cases.
Every week?
Oh, yeah, every week.
Yeah.
How quickly were y'all solving or closing cases?
Hopefully daily.
Yeah.
It's just according to what's going on. Now, if you got a murder, it's all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. And probably would be for a week to 2 weeks. And then you start saying, okay, guys, our desk's piling up. Some of y'all need to go back to that. You work the case. But fortunate thing on grand larcenies and like breaking and enterings or burglaries, if you clear one, sometimes you'll clear 10 or 20 because of the people that do that rarely ever do just one.
Sure.
They do a lot of them. We had a case here on Maxwell Hill area where once a week somewhere would get hit, about 3 or 4 houses. And we had the same thing, the same mode of operation in Kentucky, North Carolina, and Virginia. So we thought, well, we got some professional people coming in and hitting
All these houses.
And that's why we're only getting hit once a week instead of once a night. And there was 2 guys working for a plumber in Mercer County. And one of them, when he had robbed a house in Oak Hill, when he walked out of the house, there was a chandelier there. And there was a chandelier ball. And he thought it was pretty. And he reached up and got it and put it in his pocket. And he showed it to one of his coworkers. He said, I got it out of a house. Well, when they investigated the burglary, they never told anyone that there was a chandelier ball missing. So this boy that he told was dating the boss's daughter. And the boy also told him, he said, I got mad at the boss the other day and said, I urinated in his Mountain Dew bottle. Well, when the guy had told him that he had,
Different kind of
that
kick.
the boy had a chandelier ball.
Yeah.
And he got it in a break-in, the boss told him, just keep it to yourself and keep your mouth shut and just stay out of it. It's none of our business. When he went and told him that it also urinated in his Mountain Dew, he said, call the police now and tell them. So so Dave Cook and I picked him up and we got the chandelier ball out of his pocket. So I told him, I said, stand up. And Dave and I did. He said, just hold your hand straight up. I said, I'm going to stick your hand in that pocket and I'm going to show you a surprise. And I poured it out. He said, y'all got me. He thought we knew the whole story. And you couldn't shut him up.
Oh, God.
He told about every burglary it was. And we got the other boy, brought him in, and he was the ringleader. And he ended up getting 30-some years. But I've always said that's the Mountain Dew case.
The Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah. It's like Home Alone. I thought Kevin McAllister was going to show up, start.
You never know
All
how
because it's a
something
Mountain Dew.
stupid will solve a case.
Man, that's great.
Half a can of Mountain Dew solved at least 60 burglaries.
Wow. And the definition of larceny, I've wondered this myself. What is grand larceny?
At one time when I first started, it was stealing anything above $50. Well, then they said, whoa, wait a minute, this is getting out of hand.
Inflation.
They raised it to $1,000. And I couldn't be 100% sure, but it may be more than that now.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Okay. That's good to know. Man, that's great. So is there a case early on that sticks out? Oh, yeah, I have a question about tickets you mentioned earlier. We got to break this myth. Is there a quota?
Absolutely not.
There we go.
What one guy used to say all the time, I'll never forget it, Greg Tanner used to say, there is no quota. We can write as many as we want to. He told this one driver that was getting way out of hand. But anyway, absolutely not.
Did you ever let anyone free? Like, it's a single mom.
Most of them.
Most of them, yeah.
And then others, I would write a ticket. And I tell them, look, even when I was in uniform, I'd say a burglary or a grand larceny means a lot more to me than that ticket for you. If you can think of some information or know of any.
Oh, nice.
You let me know, and that ticket is not near as important as that.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I love that.
One of the largest armed robberies we ever had in the city of Beckley was, believe it or not, at Beckley Post Office. I don't know how much I need to say here.
Oh, yeah. As detailed as you want.
Every month, all these satellite post offices, Coolidge, Lanark, and all them, back then they sold a lot of money orders because people used money orders. There wasn't online banking and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd sell all these money orders, and all that money would come into the main bank or main post office, Beckley Post Office that night. Well, 3 guys robbed it.
Mm.
Well, about 4 days, you couldn't get a motel room in Beckley because of the postal inspectors and the FBI.
coming down to investigate.
Come down to investigate it. I mean, they had Beckley's motel business covered. 3 days later, I get a call. Said, would you meet me over at Beckley Little League Park? He said, me and my wife want to talk to you about the post office robbery. So I go over and he said, I didn't even remember your name. He said, when I saw it in the newspaper, I didn't remember it. But he said, my wife, he said, I do remember that somebody wrote me a ticket one time and my wife told me it was you. And I told you I was going to lose my job. And I said, well, I don't want to see anybody lose their job. And I made it a warning. And he said, and because you did that, I want to give you the information on who robbed the post office. He said, I really appreciate what you did for me and my family. I said, well, I appreciate what you're telling me. But that don't do us a lot of good because I still got to prove it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He said, put a wire on me. I'll go talk to him.
Oh, wow.
I said, you got to be kidding. He said, no. Put a wire on him, and all of us, Detective Bureau, was involved in it.
Were you huddled in like a car with like a...
Oh, yeah.
Different
We were in a van, and him in there talking. We're sitting there
He
listening.
was just sitting there like...
like the TV. It's like
and you couldn't shut them guys up. They told every detail of the crime that they was. I mean, where the money was at, how much they'd spent, and what they'd bought. He come out, we went and got warrants for him and arrested him, and they all pled guilty.
Wow.
And the FBI come in the next morning. We'd been working on it all night. The FBI and them come in next morning. We said, you guys are in jail.
Wow. How much did they steal?
It was close to $100,000.
At gunpoint?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That don't sound like a lot of money.
Oh, that's it. I mean, it's a lot
That's
here.
Way, a normal armed robbery is $300 or $400.
Yeah, you don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was around 100,000. They had it well planned, but one of them was an employee of the post office.
So he knew when they were getting the money.
Was in on it. Man, I have to... I'd say there's so many of those cases that people just don't realize. Like, I've never heard of that. The Great Post Office Robbery of what year?
That was in the 80s also,
Wow.
the early 80s.
How big was the wire? You got them Zach Morris phones back then that were huge. I mean,
We had...
Had to wear a big coat.
yeah.
Yeah. This was... had a little reel-to-reel tape recorder that he'd wear on there, and it was about 8 inches square.
Goodness.
And
that's crazy.
he put it on under like a sweater or sweatshirt. But they called it a Nagra tape recorder. But not only would it record it, but we could sit out and monitor it and listen.
I was going to say, could you listen to it while it was recording?
While it was recording,
Okay.
so that in case something happened to him, we could, or things started going south, we could protect him.
You got the tape rolling in there. I mean, man, I bet
Like a
that
little
dude was...
whirl. I'm wondering if it ran out of tape, if like, like
Yeah.
like it gave,
Now
Rewind.
they got something about the size of a pinhead or something,
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh, yeah.
you can bug
then
people,
it was
like,
on there, and we
little-
had ace bandages and everything else holding them things on. But it worked.
Man, that's awesome.
Crystal clear.
Yeah, that's great. Is there a case that sticks out to you? Like, I imagine your first murder case was it shocking, or was it like, this is what I'm here to do?
I never got over the fact of walking in on a death scene. It was sad. And even if it was a suicide or whatever, to me it was sad because that a person would get that mentally in the dark that would do that. And when I would see somebody deceased, no matter who it was or what they had done or what they'd been involved in, somebody somewhere loves them. And you try to clear it and get it cleared to make it just a smidge better for that person, the family that loved them.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's bad enough to have someone in your family to get killed or to die, but not knowing who or why would just make it 10 times worse.
Mm-hmm. How many of those, and of course that's Margie's, but ultimately we'll kind of set it up for people who don't know Margie's story. We don't know who did it, but ultimately Margie was identified, thankfully. But how many of those cases did you end up having that just went unsolved, would you say, are in this region?
One other case, and it was a school teacher here in Raleigh County. And the night before her wedding, she was murdered in her home. And the police now have made an arrest on that. And I'm not taking away from anything that they've done. They did a wonderful job. Absolutely wonderful. But it was to a great extent of the work that we had done then that made them able to do the case now. But if they hadn't done such a wonderful job now, what I'm trying to say is we did a great job on the crime scene investigation and even on the follow-up investigation. And then when they come in and got some new evidence, those two just interlocked together and they was able to make an arrest the suspect that we thought it was.
Sure. I got you. Go ahead, Josie.
I was going to say, at what point do you kind of, I guess, does a case turn into a cold case, or that you guys decide, like, we haven't found new evidence, we don't have any new leads, like, we're going to put it to the side? Because I'm assuming, with every case, like, you want to have a conclusion, you want to, figure out what happened. But at what point do you decide, like, there's nothing more we can do?
Well, I think you got two kinds of cold cases, to my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
One, definitely, beyond any doubt, who it was, but you can't prove it. And once you've done everything that you can possibly do to prove it, mm-hmm. they may even taunt you, but you can't prove the case, then you probably quit working on it quicker. But now if you're working a case that you have zero suspects, then you work it much, much longer. Does that make any sense?
Oh, yeah.
If you think you know who did it, why keep going? But I think most policemen are that way, that you just can't turn one loose. Mm-hmm. It's always there. I've worked wrecks. I've gone to the jail and interviewed people just to ask them, do you know what happened to so-and-so? You're in a hell of a jam right now. I may not be able to get you out of it, but I might be able to help you with accurate, true information. Mm-hmm. And you just never quit.
Yeah. So all the agencies, it sounds like y'all have a good collaboration in general, where you kind of work together on some cases.
We work great together. And not only that, we work great with the Raleigh County Sheriff's Department, West Virginia State Police. And you get a reputation. They know that if you tell them something or do something, hey, Frank knows what he's doing or don't know what he's doing, whatever he tells us, we can take it to the bank. We better look into it.
Yeah.
And there's policemen out there that cry wolf, wolf, wolf. And we'll look into it a little bit. But all of us at that time, and I'm sure it's still the same, I certainly hope it is, that, we worked hand in hand.
Yeah.
We didn't care who got the credit.
Yeah. Well, and I'm, working in such a emotional environment. Have you ever, had to, not suffer, but have you ever had to deal with emotions from, the people who had missing people or had murdered family, and where they kind of point the blame on the police and it's really like a miscommunication thing, or what's that like?
You've had cases before where they'd come up, why ain't you doing your job? Why ain't you doing your job? We had a girl that was stabbed 70 sometimes. And some of the family knew that we was working night and day and working our butts off on that case. And then a couple others, man, the police ain't doing nothing. What in the world? And they'd go to the newspaper and this and that. And then a couple members of the family was hoping that we wasn't doing anything on the case because it ended up being them.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
But, yeah, you get that from time to time. But we would tell the family, the close family, right off the bat, I assure you that we're going to give this everything we got. But I got to also tell you that I'm not able to tell you what we got.
Yeah.
It will, it can hurt us in our investigation. And the investigation means a lot more to me than what you think of me. And I can't do that.
That makes sense. A lot of people don't understand, like, if you let some information out and then the person who committed the crime finds out and their lawyer can argue and get certain things insubmissible in court, and then all of a sudden your case is gone.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And unlike the girl that I was telling you a while ago, it was stabbed so many times. We told the family, we had an officer to tell the family he's going to be indicted tomorrow. And the dad killed the guy that night.
Wow.
So see,
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. And I would tell him, I wished I could sit down and tell you everything we're doing. I wished I could tell you what we got planned. I can't do it and I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell me? Nope. I just need you to trust me. And 99% of them would.
Yeah.
They knew whether you was BSing them or not. They knew if you was out here knocking on doors.
That makes sense. And it's my theory on it, like, are there bad police? Sure, but a very low percentage, I believe. And I think a lot of this goes into a few factors: case overload, miscommunication, and exhaustion. And also, they just can't find any evidence. So I think that
there's a big difference between bad police and lazy police.
Right.
And to me, one's almost as bad as the other, but, and then you're right. I've seen some, it's just, they just felt the weight of the world and couldn't handle it as well as others.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd want to transfer. I need to go back on the road. This is not for me.
Yep. Well, there's 400 people missing in West Virginia right now.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's 400 families.
Mm-hmm.
You can times that by ever how many. That's 400 families that go to bed every night thinking what happened.
Yep. Yep.
As a parent, that school teacher that I was telling you about, every day I'd look down the sidewalk, look out my window at the police department and see her dad walking up. I knew what time he was going to be there. So I'd look out my window and there he'd come up. And that's the loneliest looking man I've ever met in my life. Come walking up. He'd just say, I want to know if you found out anything. No, we're still digging. He said, buddy, I appreciate it. And he'd turn around and walk off. And I'd go home at night thinking, we got to give this all we got. That poor old man's going home at night. Mm-hmm. And if I couldn't imagine what it'd be to lose a child, thank God. But if I did, and someone took their life, what it'd be try to go to bed at night thinking who or why. That would drive me crazy.
And the grief of just missing them.
Oh, the missing
on top of it. Yeah.
At least if you're giving them a little bit, when you can either cover the body if it's missing, or tell them we got the person that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's like 3 stages there. There's missing and no one ever knows what happened. There's found, but you don't know who did it. And then there's found, they did it. They all are tragic, but at least if you find who did it, that can begin the closure of knowing that justice was served and knowing where they're buried. But some people don't get that. It's not a luxury, obviously, but some people don't get that.
A cold case is obviously not one of these cases where a murder's done in anger and middle of a bar room and everybody's seen who did it, or they're 2 alone at the house and the guy just flies off the handle and does it. That's one murder. Another murder is like Margie Dodd. You had some outside things going on indirectly, and you think that may have something to do with this case.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the third one, I think, and it's probably the hardest one of them all, is if a guy, and I'm just making this up as for instance, if a guy thinks so-and-so is having an affair with my wife, and he keeps his mouth shut about it, he don't tell anybody what he knows or what he thinks he knows, and he lays in wait somewhere and kills that guy one night, then he goes home. How in the world are you ever going?
Yeah.
He's never said anything to begin with. He's never said anything afterwards. And there's some of those cases, I think, out here. And who in the heck?
Yeah, it's going to find out.
Yep. Very, very scary. But it's good to know that there's, well, you're not out there no more, but it's nice to know you was holding it down in the 90s, early 2000s and 80s. But is there ever a time where you got in a dangerous situation and you had to maybe, and feel free to talk about this however you want, but have you ever had to use your weapon in the line of duty, or is anything?
A couple times. One time it stands out in particular was in 1997. It's Christmas Eve. My oldest son was in from the service. And that guy is if you tell him that this room's caving in right now, you better get out. Well, I'll get out of here in a minute. But anyway, I helped run a Christmas program for the needy kids. And I had a few more items to deliver. And I asked my son, he was in, like I said, from the service, I said, won't you go with me and help me deliver? I had some bicycles and this and that and the other. He said, okay. We were out and I heard an officer say, I'm going 1038 on a vehicle on Wilson Street. 1038 means I'm stopping a car.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my son. I said, that don't sound right. He said, well, what about that didn't sound right? I said, I don't know. I'm heading that way. And within seconds, a policeman come across the radio, and you could tell he was running. He said, he's got my gun and trying to kill me. So I pull up, and the guy was chasing him and shooting at him. And I pull in between the two. And the guy went back up the street a little bit and just stood there. And I turned my car sideways to block the road so the traffic wouldn't come in. And the policeman had his face was just covered in blood. And at that time, I had no idea why. Later, I found out that the guy had headbutted him and dazed him and took his gun, the policeman's gun. So he said, give me another gun. I had more than one gun in the car. He said, give me a gun. I'll go back with you. I said, I'm not giving you a gun and putting you back in a gunfight with a head injury. So I told him, y'all stay right here. And if this guy gets by me, y'all get in the car and just keep on going until help arrives. So I went up in the yard and I started trying to talk to the guy. And every time I'd say something to him, he'd shoot at me. he had the officer's 40 caliber Glock. And there's a big old Bronco there, and I was behind the Bronco, and I thought, well, I'll just keep talking to him till he runs out of ammo. But the police car was sitting there too, and they had all kinds of ammo in that police car and shotguns. Plus, if that guy got in that car and left, he could pull over any car he wanted to. And he had those guns, and he was obviously wild as hell that night.
Did you know who the guy was?
No. Well, he was shooting at me, and I was talking to him, and just I could feel something burning behind me. And I looked, and there was this family standing in a window right behind me. And I thought, oh, hell, I got to move because this guy's going to end up shooting one of them. So when I moved, I had no cover at all, and I shot him. I kept trying to talk to him, put his gun down, and when he started coming back up with it again, I let him have it with a shotgun and killed him that night.
Did you find out what happened?
He was from Tunisia, and he had married this girl in Charleston. And I don't know if he was trying to become a citizen or what he was trying to do. But he drove to Washington, D.C. and was going to try to go to some embassy. Tunisia didn't have an embassy in D.C., but I think France did. And France had diplomacy with Tunisia. Somehow or another, he was wanting to talk to them. We got up there and it was Christmas Eve and all that was closed. Well, on the way back, him and his wife got into it. They had kids in the car, and so he put them out on the turnpike.
Just left him out there?
Just left them on the turnpike, and he turned around and he said, I'm going back to Beckley, and I'm going to kill every policeman I run into, and as many as I can, and I'm going to die my magic. So he came, and the initial call come out that evening that they was leaving the scene over in front of the Pinecrest Hospital there on Eisenhower Drive. And this officer was on his way to that. Well, this car come running up behind him. And he turned up Wilson Street and was going to take a shortcut and go over. And that guy hit him in the bumper. Well, a lot of times when somebody try to flag you down, they'll flash their lights and all, but he thought, he hit me in the bumper. He's overreacting. Something bad must be wrong. So he got out, and that guy said, you got to help me. You got to help me. And he was a big man. He said, buddy, I'll help you. Just tell me what's wrong. And he kept coaxing that policeman closer. And when he got up there to him, he headbutted him and took his gun. And the policeman immediately took off running like hell, and he was shooting at him, trying to shoot him.
Goodness gracious.
Was that the first shootout you'd been in before? Or?
Well, I'd been in a shootout. I was working a murder case, and the suspect was in a motel room in Glen Jean. And there's about 3 of us shot at him in that room. And we all had the same kind of weapon. The medical examiner said, I've determined which one shot him. Y'all want to know? I said, I don't care to know. I don't know. So I don't know. So one of the 3 of us shot him and killed him.
What are your thoughts on that now? You ever think about that day? I mean, I imagine, he's going to kill somebody, and it sounds like you saved some lives.
Well, the one thing that was not funny about it, but different about it, that policeman on that last case that was headbutted, he had worked in Charlotte, on Charlotte Police Department. He said, man, this place is getting too rough. I'm going to Beckley where it's not quite as bad.
Lord.
And he hadn't been here just a couple months and ended up in that mess. But anyway.
Did he go back to Charlotte? He's like, I'm out of here.
He eventually left police work, and he's a federal parole officer now.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But anyway, the case that we had in that shootout in Glen Jean and the one I had here, I'm not trying to sound cold, but I slept like a baby that night. because I knew I did not make those decisions. They did. And it's our policy. You involved in a shootout, you got to go talk to a counselor before you can come back to work. And I did. And he said, "You sleep good last night?" I said, "I slept like a baby." I didn't make that decision. He did. He said, "You think you've made the right decision?" I said, "But if there was no decision, if you had to sit there and figure, am I making a right decision or a wrong decision, then you had something else you could have done. I had nothing else I could do. It wasn't my fault." Now, there's times that I think about his family, because no matter who you are or what you are, somebody loves you. And I knew that there was somebody grieving for both of those people. And I hate it. And I hate it real bad for them. But he's the one that put them through it.
Yeah. Well, someone's in a psychotic break like that. There's so many scenarios that could have happened. For one, could have shot a kid in a house behind you, could have killed the police officer. He could have went back and killed his family. You don't know. So, it just had to happen.
It had to happen because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. All right. So let's get into Margie Dodd. So I think in 1977 is when she was originally abducted. I think what we'll do is kind of set it up there. You were not in the police department until the 80s, correct?
No, I was in the police department in 1974.
Oh, you was in 74. So what was your position in 77?
I was working in the detective bureau.
Oh, you were in the detective. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So do you want to kind of set up what occurred that day and what led to the police being called?
Margie worked for Cardinal State Bank. As you noticed, I didn't bring in any notes or anything. So if I'm a little hazy on some dates or something, forgive me, because that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
But she worked for Cardinal State Bank, and she got off at 8:00 at night. And maybe it was 9:00, but somewhere along in there.
Mm-hmm.
And she was on her way home, and her car she pulled over for whatever reason at a little general store in Beaver. It's no longer there, but it's beside a Kenzie's Cakes.
Mm-hmm.
And she was on the parking lot. Well, there was this guy. His mother lived right next door to that store. And you had to go kind of like between the store and the house to get to her gate. Kind of like for lack of a better term, an alleyway. So he went and got his daughter, and as he was backing out, he looked over and heard her screaming and seen the guy trying to get her in his car. So he pulled back up and went running back into the house and called state police. Well, there was an incident that happened earlier at the bank, some unruly customers, and we thought maybe this was involved.
Mm-hmm.
Trooper Cole, Jerry Cole, and I think it's E-Step responded to the initial call, and immediately once they got there, they run a license check on her car, and it come back to a Cant Dodd. They said Cant or Margaret Dodd. They called back to the headquarters and said, "Sergeant, call the house and see if you can get an answer." And Cant Dodd answered the phone. And that's one of the main things that eliminated him as a suspect, because there's no way in hell that he could have grabbed her, took her to the wherever, and then sat there and answer that phone all. Sure. Because Jerry Cole and them was only 2 minutes away from the call when they got it. But anyway, they worked it for 2 or 3 days, and Trooper Preston Gooden, he was he lived in Martinsburg, but he was stationed here in Beckley. And he and I got to working as partners on the case. And when it got, after a couple of weeks, the uniform division had to go back to doing their things, and he and I kept working it. And everybody was filtering the information to Preston and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And a short time later, probably 3 weeks later, we get a call from the FBI in Akron, Ohio. Said, hey, look, we may have something here. We're not sure. But the family just got a phone call from a guy named Joe Bob. Says that he knows where Margie's at and that he can take us to her.
Was there a reward money at the time?
Well, no.
Okay.
It was headlines in the Akron paper. The daughter of Akron residents is missing and parents is awaiting ransom demand. That was a headline in their paper.
Daughter of Akron parents? So
The parents of Akron's daughter is missing. And the parents are awaiting a ransom demand.
So they got one.
And they sure got one. This Flim Flam guy, we later found out that he had absolutely zero to do with it.
Tell me about that trip, if you don't mind, because that ended. I mean, I heard this and it was just too crazy to believe. But is this where the cops went up there and then there was a whole
Preston Good and myself went there. We got to Akron, Ohio from Beckley in about 3.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We were cooking. And we got up there, and I won't name any names, but this guy was calling himself Joe Bob. He was a black guy that sounded like a black guy, but he also could sound like a hickey West Virginia white guy better than anything I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
And he would have the hickey white guy to call the family and said, I'm going to kill your daughter tomorrow if I don't have this money.
So he's playing two characters?
Two characters.
Wow.
And then Joe Bob would call and say, hey, look, I'm trying to get her out. But y'all's going to have to give me some money for this because I'm putting my life at stake. Well, as it turned out later, we found out they were one and the same. But anyway, we get to Akron and the family told him, said, man, we ain't contacted the police. We ain't told nobody nothing. So a policeman acted as the dad. Another policeman acted as the brother. We took the back seat out of the car and just put vinyl over it. Thank God he didn't get in the back seat and sit on it because there's nothing there. It just looked like a seat.
That'd have been a problem.
And there was an FBI agent laying in that cavity. So he got him and they said, you going to take us to Margie? And he said, yeah, let's go. And he started taking them in the wrong side of Akron. Turn down this way and turn down this way. And every time he'd tell them turn something, they were getting farther and farther into no man's land. And finally, he sent them down this one-way street and got at the end of it. And he stuck something up to the side of the driver's head. And he said, do you know what a .357 Magnum will do to you? He said, yes, I do. He said, no, you don't. I'm getting ready to show you. The driver reached up and took his hand and pushed away. And when he did, you heard a loud click. Well, the FBI agent heard that click. He was in that cavity in the back. He thought that it was a cock and a gun. And he just started shooting through the back. And we immediately drug the guy out of the car and said, where's Margie? Where's Margie? And he died right there at the scene.
Wow.
And, but we later found out that the two were the same and he had done that before. And the records were showing at the time that Margie disappeared, he was working at this place. And we found all the phone records where he had called the family from his home and all that. So he was just a flam guy.
Crazy.
But it cost him his life.
Well, what did he end up pulling? Did you find a gun?
An ink pen.
An ink pen. Okay.
He had an ink pen up there. When that guy pushed it away, the clicker was on that side and it clicked.
Oh, wow.
And when the gun started shooting, the driver didn't know if it was the shots from him or what.
Dude, I bet he was
and
tripping
he got out of the car and was checking for blood everywhere. Of course, he wouldn't have been doing that if it had been the other guy, but you know.
How do you tell Cant, like, hey, Cant, funny thing happened yesterday? And then you walk through, like, what happened? Or, like, man, that's just so surreal to go through that.
Yeah, Ken Dodd knew it.
Yeah.
Because it was his father-in-law that they were calling.
Okay, so he was waiting to see what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
He knew he'd stayed down here.
Mm.
And it was a father-in-law that this jerk was calling. And he called the FBI there in Akron.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he swore to him, hey, I'm not getting the police involved. I'll bring you any kind of money you want as long as you don't hurt Margie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's worth a shot because you just don't know at that point.
We had no idea.
Yeah.
At that time, we didn't have time to investigate it and see if this guy was on the real or not. We did the best we could. But when we got up there, and the first meet, he didn't show, which is normal on a ransom. We thought, shoot, maybe there is something to this, because it's totally classic on a ransom demand. They don't show up first. They sit and watch you.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that they were probably watching us. So we were very careful. And then he called back the next day and was trying to trick the dad. The white hickey guy called back and he said, I told you I'd kill her if you go to the police. And we told the guy, don't ever say, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to go to the police. Nothing. Just tell him, buddy, I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't calling no police.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. And so the next time the guy showed.
Wow. Man, shout out to the guy in the FBI cavity.
I know,
man,
right?
I just imagine laying there waiting. I was like thinking, I probably think right before the door opened, like, what if he gets back here? You know, and then all of a sudden it's like,
well, we had a 50-50 shot because half the seat had a seat
And half of it.
and half of it didn't. So we said, well, let's give ourselves at least a 50-50 shot.
Mm-hmm.
But
man, that may save that guy's life. I mean, because, which it doesn't sound like you found a gun. Even still, I mean, bad things were about to happen. Like, dude was about to get robbed or something.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
Other than, that lead, can you talk about like some of the different avenues you went down initially? Because I read a lot of articles from that time and it mentioned that there had been some rapes and that initially like there was believed that maybe that was some sort of connection. There was like a lot of fear in the community because this was going on and nobody really knew what was happening. I read an article that said like sales of mace had gone up on the time. So just talk a little bit about about that.
It was rare to have a rape in the city of Beckley or the Raleigh County area. But during this time, we had about 20.
Jeez.
They were vicious rapes. I mean, vicious. They would, a lot of them were in lovers' lanes. And they would drag the guy out and just totally beat him half to death and hog tie him and put him in the trunk of the car. And then just the violence to the woman was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. And one of the guys kept trying to get the other guy to calm down a little bit, calm down. I hesitate to say he was the good guy in the bunch, but he wasn't. He was the better guy of the bunch. And he kept trying to get this one to calm down. We put stakeout of couples in all of these lovers' lanes that we knew of. Nothing. It just seemed like they had a sixth sense. We did that night after night after night. And finally, we got a break, and we caught the guys that was doing it. And they confessed to the
So how many were there?
two
Guys was doing all these rapes.
guys that were doing all these rapes. And Preston and I found out that one of the guys didn't own, but he had access to an old Mabscott police car. And when the Mabscott auctioned the car off or sold it or whatever they did, how they sold it, this guy bought it, still had the spotlights on it and everything.
Wow.
And he told us that he had loaned it on more than one occasion to one of the rape suspects.
No way. Wow.
So it's always been in the back of my mind that he used that to get Margie to pull off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of the family, Margie's family, especially Kent, said she would never pull off the side of the road for anybody unless she thought it was a police officer.
Mm-hmm. Was there reports of what kind of car was next to Margie's that they put her in?
It was a Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
The little girl saw the guy better than what her daddy did that was backing out of the driveway, because he was driving and looking and pulling ahead and this. She said the guy looked like, back at time, Happy Days was the number one show on TV. And she said it looked like the Fonz. I said, why did he look like the Fonz? And she pointed down to my breeches legs. I said, well, show me. And she rolled up my breeches legs in a cuff. She said, like the Fonz. And sure enough, Fonz on that TV show always had a big cuff on the bottom of his jeans. Our suspect, or one of the rapists, had always wore cuffs on his jeans.
And he was convicted of rape.
He pled guilty to rape.
Yeah. And so did they plead down from the number of rapes there were to a certain number, or how did that work?
He agreed, which I think was a terrible deal, to 20 years in prison. He pulled, excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
He agreed to 20 years in prison and went to Moundsville State Penitentiary. And at the time, the warden was Warden Bordenkircher. And after 10 years, Warden Bordenkircher decided that guy had enough. He needed to be released. Wasn't good behavior, wasn't nothing. He just said, your time's up, and opened the door and let him out.
Goodness gracious.
And I went to the prosecutors and all that and tried to get something done on it. And they told me, nothing you can do, just hush.
Were you able to question him about Margie and all the other, like, did he ever indicate one way or the other with her?
The night that we had him in on the rapes and had him under arrest for the rapes, I went in and I told him, I said, look, you've done an honorable thing here. You've sat and told us about the rapes. I said, I need to ask you about Margie. He looked at me. He said, let me tell you something. I'm getting ready to go to penitentiary probably for the rest of my life. But he said, I might have a chance getting out sometime. If I sit here and tell you about a murder, I'll never get out.
That's what he said. He didn't say he didn't do it.
Didn't say he didn't do it. Didn't say he did. That's what he told me. And I kept talking to him. The more I talked to him, the harder he got. Now, when he was let out after that 10 years, within a month, he was arrested again for another violent rape. And I never will forget when the the day the Space Challenger blew up, we'd had to change the venue on the trial because it had so much publicity on it here in Raleigh County. And we was trying it in the Mercer County courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And the day the Space Challenger blew up is the date that the jury come back and found him guilty.
Wow.
He would never plead no more, and he would never confess to nothing. But about 2 years ago, the state police called me at home. Said, we got this guy over here. He'd been stalking someone, a newspaper reporter, and we got him under arrest.
Mm.
He said, won't you give it one more shot? I tried to talk to him about Margie Dodd. So I went over and I started talking to him, and I didn't have to read him his rights because I wasn't a policeman. But I did ask him, I said, have they read you your rights? He said, yeah. I did not want to take any chance whatsoever if he confessed, which he didn't. But if he confessed that me being an ex-policeman or something, I didn't want that on me. So anyway, so I started talking to him. He told me, he said, I got a mother. He said, she's a saint. He said, she loves God. And God loves her, and she's not doing good right now. He said, I can't put her through nothing. And I'd like to go back and talk to him one more time now. Since then, his mother is deceased. And I'd like to tell him, and it's in your mind that your mom went to heaven. And if you ever want to see her again, you're going to have to get this off of you if you did it.
How do you get out of prison after multiple, obviously, but after 2 convictions of rape like that? I don't understand. Go ahead, Josie.
Violent, brutal.
So
brutal.
He pled the first cup. How many were the initial?
This is like about 20. 17 to 20 that he pled to.
Oh, he pled to that many?
He
Initially.
pled guilty and gave a confession.
To the first in this.
And he pulled
70s?
10 years.
Goodness.
And then how many years later was it?
He was out about a couple months. And we called him, arrested him. Kenny Powers worked the case. Kenny later went on to become an FBI agent, but he worked the case mainly. And we went to trial on it in Mercer County, and the jury found him guilty.
Mm.
How many years did he?
I think he got like 20 years.
Then he got out again.
Oh, he got out again way early.
Mm.
And he's living here in Raleigh County.
Is he not in prison now?
No.
Okay.
And afterwards, he's stalking a TV reporter and all, and he's still out.
He didn't get convicted of anything there?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
so you were retired at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to close this one off.
I wasn't retired when he did the second rape or the additional rape after he got out. I was involved in that one, and he was convicted of it and went to prison. But when he was stalking the TV reporter, that was the night the state troopers called me and asked me if I want to come over, and said, how about giving him another shot?
Hmm.
Going back to, Margie's case initially, you talked about, the importance of like a crime scene and how like you would, spend 2 or 3 days there. But with this case, you really didn't have like a crime scene. I mean, we know that she left her office at the bank. Then she was spotted at the gas station in Beaver, but there was really no scene. So like, what was that like not having a crime scene?
We confiscated her car, which would have been unnecessary. The family, Cant Dodd, would have said, hey, take it, done. You ain't got no problem with me.
Where was her car found again?
It was sitting in front of the little general store.
Okay.
That's no longer there.
In Beaver. Okay.
Down in Beaver beside a Cozy's Cakes. Right there in that curve.
Mm-hmm.
there's AAA septic service or something that's in that building now, but we confiscated her car, and we even brought in FBI agents to fingerprint the car and do a crime scene on the car. We just let them do it. Nothing. And car doors and all that. And I thought maybe they had hit her. And made her pull over thinking she had a little small wreck. We took the bumper off her car, sent it in. They said we thought maybe there's damage there we're not even seeing. And they said, nope, no damage there. Everything's normal. I really think it's a possibility that it's a spotlight or somebody she knew and she pulled over for him. But now between her car and them putting her in the back seat of the other car, she was screaming and fighting. And there was some change and some keys laying on the ground. Now, the little girl said when they put her in the back seat, the Fonz was leaning inside of the car and she saw his shoulder going up and down, and the scream stopped abruptly.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't help but think, was that the end of her life?
Yeah, man, that's awful. Yeah, and I want to note too that there was a bystander that ended up calling the police, and he had a 6-year-old kid with him at the time, and definitely I want everyone to be easy on. You don't know what you do in that situation, and you got to look after your kid. And I think that person's gotten a little bit of flack on the comments, so ease up on him. I mean, it's just a horrible situation all around. But
I'm telling you, the guy was a great guy.
Yeah.
And he had no idea the situation was as bad as it was. Mm-hmm. Even though he heard a girl screaming and they were dragging her, he thought it was a domestic.
Yeah.
And at that time, people were kind of geared, hey, that's a man and woman, that's between them. But he didn't. He went on ahead and made the call.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he called immediately, and the fact that Jerry Cole responded to the scene within 2 minutes. He was on Raleigh Hill when he got the call. So he was there within 2 minutes. And the fact that he ran that license plate, and the fact that he radioed back and asked Sergeant Metter, Dutch Metter, to call that house, and the fact that Kent Dodd answered the phone saved us one hell of a lot of trouble right there.
Oh, yeah.
Because to this day, Kent Dodd would have been under the microscope. He'd have been in an interrogation room 1,000 times. But you see what I mean? That the fact that guy, you can be as hard on that guy as you want to be. That's none of my business. But he made the call, and he pulled straight in and went in and made the call. He thought it was a domestic, and he didn't think it was his part to get involved in it. Right or wrong, that's what he did.
Yeah. And I've even had the reach of the show. I'm so grateful for it, but I've even had the daughter of him comment and say, he thought about this his entire life, and really sounds like a really good citizen and a terrifying situation. So
next time you see a man and woman, I'm going to tell this to the negative people. Next time you see a man and woman fighting or in a big scuffle, you ask yourself, are you going to get involved or are you going to call the police?
Yeah.
Now, you've made this judgment on this guy. I wished he'd have done something different. I wished he'd have got a license plate number. I wished he'd have got out and confronted him, but he's got a 6-year-old girl sitting in that car.
What do you do? Yeah.
And that girl is his life. So what do you do? But the next time you see somebody arguing and fussing or fighting on the side of the street, 30 minutes later, you tell me, did you do what he did or did you get involved?
Yeah. Yeah. You just never know until you're in it, you know? And
I know the guy and I know him well, and I've known him all my life.
Yeah.
And they're good people.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to that person. So one more question about the kind of, leading suspect. Of course, according to the law, this is all allegedly. He didn't do it. But have you ever had any run-ins with him outside of the investigation, like in public?
Yeah. My wife and I were at a restaurant, and there was this girl working in there. I'd say, guessing she's probably 16, 17. And I kept seeing her going over to his table. He was in there. And when I got ready to pay, I walked up there and I said, "You know him?" She said, "No, but he's so nice. He's going to give me a ride home when I get off here in a little bit." I said, "Don't you dare get in the car with him." I told her, I said, "He's been in prison a couple times for rape. And they were very violent." I said, "I want you to go in there and call your mom and dad right now and tell them they need to come and get you." And I walked over to his table and I said, "I'm going to be watching." I said, "If she gets in your car, then you got a problem." I said, "I'll wreck you before I let you get off this driveway."
Yeah,
with that girl in your car.
You may save your life. Who knows?
I don't know, but
so I don't know if we want to.
he's not that good of a guy to be offering somebody a ride, especially a young lady.
For sure. Yeah.
I found the article that you're talking about from when the Challenger from January 28th, 1986.
Oh, wow.
Do we want to say his name?
No, we won't. We won't say his name, but I mean, listen, we got to be, obviously this information is important. And, this is Frank's experience, and these are factual accounts, and it is what it is. And of course, this person it's all allegedly and innocent until proven guilty, all that. But if there is a person that was listening that was involved in this, I can tell you there's a family that has been, and we'll get through how Margie was identified next. There's a family that's been through this for 40 years. It's almost 50 years now. It's time to confess to this, whoever you are, and give this family some form of closure. I mean, it's the least you could do to get things right before you check out of this world. So,
one thing I'd like to mention.
Sure.
Every time I talk to this person, he would say, "I've never touched that woman. I didn't do this to that woman. I hated about that woman." And the last time I talked to him, I said, "Buddy, let me tell you something. From now on, the rest of my life and the rest of your life, anytime we're talking, that woman's name is Margie Dodd. You can call her Margaret Dodd.
Mm-hmm.
You can call her Miss Dodd. You can call her Margie if you want to. But you don't ever call her that woman again."
Yeah.
And there was tears running down his face. All of a sudden, it wasn't impersonal. He had to say her name.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, any family out here that's got any conscience at all, if you know anything about this, you think, well, I better stay out of it, or I don't want to involve. You think about members of your family that this could have happened to. Do the right thing and make that phone call. I don't care if you call me. I don't care if you call Beckley PD, State Police, Roy County Sheriff's Department, anybody you want to call, and you tell them. I will tell you this. If anybody calls, everything possible that can be done will keep your name will be out of it.
Yeah.
I've almost went to jail before testifying on the witness stand because I refused to give people's name that give me information. And I wouldn't give it. but do the right thing and just say, hey, look, here's what I know. It don't matter how big it is or how small it is. It may be enough to put it over the hump. Now, we've talked about this rapist.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be him. Somebody out there may know something about totally something different from what we've talked about. Make the call and call.
Yep.
Call this channel.
Oh yeah, DM the page on Facebook. Send me an email, creepalachia@gmail.com.
You know, nobody's wanting a pat on the back. Nobody's wanting credit for it. We're wanting this brought to a conclusion so this family can be at rest.
Yep. A really good family too. Everybody just
Wonderful.
Very kind people.
I never knew Margie Dodd in my life before this.
Yeah.
And I know there's an old movie about this. Somebody was investigating a case and he fell in love with the victim. Well, I certainly haven't gone that far and all that, but I feel like I've known Margie Dodd all my life.
Mm-hmm.
We've been with it for 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like I've known Cant Dodd all my life. And you get to know so much. I probably know more about Margie Dodd right now than Cant Dodd does.
Right.
And none of it's bad.
Sure. Well, they were,
Yeah.
how long were they married? It wasn't long
No.
before this happened. It was a couple years,
Yeah.
something like that.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Because she was
But-
only, 27?
But even, I mean, you know, how tragic.
But you get to know people because you got to investigate the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kent's love for her is going to come into play later, which we'll get into. But eventually, and we'll get into our other lead after this. But eventually, the case starts to turn cold.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, before you move on to that, I did want to you could pull up one of the articles.
Yeah, let's do it.
It features a picture of Frank Pack.
My dude.
It's from December.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. November. No, December 9th, 1977.
1970. Let's see. December 9th, 1977. Got it.
If you go to the bottom of the.
Okay. Bottom of this page, page 1.
Yeah.
My dude.
There you are. This would have been a couple of months you guys were investigating.
This is you on the right, and then Preston Gooden on the left.
But one of the things that stuck out to me in this article, obviously, you said that it had interviewed at least 300 people, and you guys had tried to recreate the scene with the car and the lights and everything. But also mentioned that you guys had hypnotized some of the witnesses. And I'm really curious how that works. Or
yes.
What?
There's 2 things in that area. It might be under y'all's expertise.
Okay.
Well,
It's
Josie's.
It's going to get a little creepy.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, that's yours.
Not so much on the hypnotizing of a witness. They were very young, and this expert come along and said, hey, look, I think I can put them at ease and put them under hypnosis and put them at ease and get a little more information. That's one thing. There was these 2 psychics from Akron, Ohio. Now, I guess they learned about the case through the Akron Times or Akron, whatever their newspaper is. They contacted us and said, we're coming down to talk to you. So I told Preston, I said, we got 2 goofy people coming down to talk to us.
I was going to say, y'all are progressive tactics in the 70s here.
He said, well, what the hell? He said, maybe they're not. And just using as they said that they were, I forget the word.
Mediums.
So we decided, what the heck, let's talk to them. Maybe that's their way of giving us information and saying that they just it come out of the air to them.
Yeah.
So they come down and talked to us and told us that her body is next to a body of water. And said it's not a large body of water either. It's a small body. I got to thinking Little Beaver Lake. Or 4-H Lake, whatever you call it. But anyway, they told us some other things. And they went back to Akron. And so Preston and I were sitting in my office, and they called and said, yes, we forgot to tell you something. I said, okay, what is it? And I must have said it in a very doubtful word. And she said, I'm going to give you a sign that I know what I'm talking about. And I swear to God, about that time, our power went off. And
No way.
Come right back on. I said, okay. What you? She said, have you got the sign yet? I said, I've got the sign. I looked at him. I said, you believe this stuff? But anyway, she told us whatever, but their information didn't.
You checked it out.
We checked anything out that anybody told us, whether we thought they were way out there or not.
Wow.
But when I hung up the phone, I looked at him. I had her on speaker. I said, you believe that? He said, no. And he said, what a coincidence. I said, yeah, but then she said, have you got the sign yet?
Wow.
That kind of creeped me out. But anyway.
Dude, yeah. I mean, what timing? I mean, the power didn't just go off every day, you know? It's just.
I said, I hope you got nothing in your life that you don't want them to know about.
They will find out.
Man, that's crazy. How long, how many years after? I mean, I'm sure it was always on your mind. It's somewhat, but of course, the tasks, I imagine, would decrease as you go. How long did it take before it was like, well, we haven't heard anything in a few weeks, months?
I know in 78, my wife went into labor with my youngest son, and she called me. I said, I'm on this Margie Dodd case. And I said, I'll be there in just a minute. Take you to the hospital. So she called. Excuse me, the second time. She said, I told you I'm in labor. I need to go to the hospital. And I said, okay, we got a witness here and we're finishing up with him. I'll be there in a minute. The captain of the state police, I never will forget him, Burt Castle, come back here and he said, get your ass out of here and go get your son and take him to your wife and take her to the labor. She just called me.
Wow.
But anyway, we worked that case night and day. We worked it for 17 hours a day. Well, it was 24 hours almost. We would just go and take a short nap and just go right back to work. And we did that for months. That and the 17-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
After that, and it started getting real cold, we still Preston retired and went to Berkeley County. And I got a call. People said they had information on the case. And that happened 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
But I called up there one day. Preston was county commissioner in Berkeley County. So I called him and said, hey, Preston, I was going to tell him, hey, Preston, I just got some more information on Margie Dodd. I just want to fill you in on it. And his secretary answered the phone. I said, hey, it's Frank. I said, can I talk to Preston? She said, Preston died at his desk yesterday.
Oh, man.
So, but man, what a friend. Me and him was tight.
Did you treat every case like this, working 17 hours? Or was there just something particular about this case that you just felt like you had to put in all that?
I think all of us at the Detective Bureau, anytime we had a murder case, we worked that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Lord, I mean, tell you, I remember feeling numb before. And they'd say, y'all need to go home and get some rest. And we'd go home, we'd say, okay, we'll be back in 8 hours. And you'd walk back in the Detective Bureau at 4 hours and everybody was already there. They'd say, you couldn't stay away either. I said, no.
Man.
We got to keep going. We got to get this.
How quickly did you assume it was a murder case from just a missing person?
The next day, after Margie was taken from her car, Lee Norris, corporation on Raglan Road where Kent Dodd worked, they put their helicopter in there. I don't know what they was looking for. And, but they were looking. We had people on foot in all kinds of different places. And that went on for 3 or 4 weeks and then started calming down. But it was, it was hectic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But me and Preston started pulling ourselves away from that type of thing. The looking for her and all this and doing just the investigation part.
Well, I imagine like it takes a really strong partner to stay with a detective. I would imagine that's like the rock of the family.
Well, when Preston was working there was 2 murders of girls that were going to Morgantown.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
West Virginia University.
Mm-hmm.
Co-ed murders, they called them.
Yep, I know those.
Well, the governor at that time decided that he was going to have a special investigator to do that. And he went and told Preston, give him your evidence. Preston said, I'm not doing it. And he told the governor, I'm not doing it. So the governor fired him.
Mm.
And he was off from work for a long, long time. Preston was one heck of an investigator. And the Supreme Court said, you put him back to work. You give him whatever promotions he would have had during that firing time. And you give him the choice of stations that he worked.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked Beckley. He decided to take Beckley. And before this Margie Dodd case, he cleared at least 2 unsolved murders. Ages old. One of them was the KO murder.
Mm-hmm.
An attendant at the KO station up there, and he made an arrest on that, and then he made an arrest on another one. So Preston knew his stuff, and I tell you, he didn't take a backseat to anyone. He knew he could do an investigation. And he was an old fatherly type figure.
Mm-hmm.
He looks kind of young in that picture, but he was obviously in person older than me.
Right.
And when you'd go into an interview or whatever, he was the fatherly type figure. If people didn't care, they'd talk to him.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a guy.
Well, Preston, rest in peace. And
Yeah.
thoughts and prayers to the family for sure. It sounds like an awesome dude. What year did he die?
It was in the late 90s.
Mm. Gone too soon. All right. So eventually we get into cold territory. You chase your lead every now and then. At some point, you get a call from a hunter. Or how did you hear about someone finding a body?
I didn't get any information at all. The sheriff's department got an investigation from, I think it was some 4-wheelers. Now, I'm talking about something here now that I'm not really 100% sure of.
Sure, okay.
Because it was 93.
Yeah.
So were you you retired by then?
I was still there.
You were still there, okay.
But the information was called into the sheriff's detective bureau.
Okay.
Sheriff's department.
Okay.
And the detective bureau ended up going out there and they recovered a body. And the sheriff at that time, the chief of detectives at that time, was convinced that it was the body of a girl that's missing from Fayette County.
Right.
And I asked them to do a DNA on it and show Kent Dodd the photographs of the jury and the keys and stuff that was found with the body. And he told me that was unnecessary because it was the person from Fayette County.
Okay. Which they, Susan Roop. They thought it was Susan Roop. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'd made that request several times. And that chief of detectives was finally eventually made the sheriff. And after his term, Scott Van Meter went in as sheriff, and he immediately said, absolutely, we're going to do a DNA. And he took it upon himself to get the funds to have this done. And it was done and done fast. And it was determined that it was Margie Dodd.
Well, and also, too, so Cant, since it was an open case, he wasn't allowed to view the evidence, and there were photographs. Were those photographs shown to Cant?
Yeah,
during this time,
when the previous sheriff would not show them.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's totally useless because it's the girl from Fayette County.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
When Kent Dodd got in there, when Van Meter got in, he said, "Hey Frank, you think you get a hold of Kent and have him come up and look at these photographs?" I said, absolutely. So I got a hold of Kent. He was here the next morning from Newport News or Hampton. But anyway, he came up. He looked there and he said, "Y'all found Margie." Started crying.
As soon as he looked.
Yeah, and the DNA hadn't come back yet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Y'all found Margie." He said, "I can't believe it." He said, "Thank you so much."
Is there certain clothing or something she had on that he knew, or?
No, it was the keys and a necklace.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the DNA come back and confirmed it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So that was
2017.
Right, when the DNA, 93 is when they found her remains. But I found...
She should have been identified in 93.
You think?
One photograph would have been all it took.
So it was 2 years before that, in 91, this article says in Mercer County, there was another remains found. And the headline says, authorities say remains don't belong to Dodd. So do you remember that? Like, anytime remains were found in and around the area, did you always immediately say, like, we need to check and see if that's Margie?
Absolutely.
Like,
and it was always done.
Yeah.
Except this time.
So, man, what a situation, because I'm actually talking to people related to the Susan Roop case too. So I just imagine they're told this is Susan, and then come to find out 2017, it's actually not Susan.
Yeah.
So you got them finding that.
I have no idea what they were told.
Well, yeah.
I would assume the same thing you're assuming.
These are all assumptions, disclaimer.
If you believe enough that it's Susan Roop, that you wouldn't do a DNA on the case of Margie Dodd or show the picture to Margie Dodd, then you must be very convinced that it is Susan Roop. So I would assume that you did talk to their family.
Yeah.
But my next question would be, why wasn't a DNA done with Susan Roop?
Sure. And back then, DNA was still pretty early.
Primitive stages, but it sure wasn't in the night that Margie Dodd came up missing. We went to her house late that night and got her hairbrush, her toothbrush, and all that in case we could collect hair samples and so on later on. And gosh, how valuable that come.
Wow. So they used that to, wow. And because DNA definitely wasn't a thing in 77.
It was not a thing in 77, but hair was good identifier.
Hair was still, wow.
And we immediately went to her dentist and got dental records. I think it was the day after we went to the dentist, her dentist, and told him we wanted her dental records. And we got a bunch of x-rays from the dentist. And that was used also to help make the identification.
Yeah.
They said, I think in like initial articles, it was even said that like you assumed potentially if she had died that like a hunter might find the remains. Like, was that pretty typical? Especially, I mean, this is rural, West Virginia,
For
there's
that time of year, see, this was August, September, October.
Oh yeah.
August. And hunting season was coming in at the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to make it a point to get to refresh their memory about the case along that time in case they're out hunting.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that would
Keep your eyes peeled.
Mm-hmm.
Hunters, let's go.
This says when they found it in 93 in December, says a deer hunter trudging through the mountain terrain near the Wyoming County line found the skull, a few teeth, and a couple of unidentified bones. And that was Mark.
I've talked to the wife of the deer hunter. He said he'd come on the show, so I'm probably going to have him on.
I just can't
I'm
imagine,
just curious.
like, it's a recreation activity.
Yeah.
And you stumble upon
Oh yeah.
a crime scene, essentially.
A lot of bodies are found by hunters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
Wow. So this kind of stirs the case up. This actually had news reporters doing news stories on the case, which led to the stalking thing and all that stuff occurring. But also, did you receive any tips after this from anyone? Any random? Did potentially the family get any random phone calls or anything like that that came about?
no. I left in 99, but from 93 to 99, you always got tips.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were so far-fetched, it was unbelievable. But I said, stranger things has happened, so we would follow through on them.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them led to anything.
Yeah. Well, then after this happened in 2017, was there kind of a random lead that you passed off to the sheriff's department about, like maybe Kent maybe received some random phone call or anything like that? Or
we got a phone call one night that this boy called and said that his daddy was responsible for killing Margie Dodd.
Mm.
And when I got that information, I knew the boy and the daddy.
Mm-hmm.
The boy a whole lot more than I did the daddy. And I knew that the boy was an alcoholic. But that could mean two things. One, him being an alcoholic made him tell something he wasn't supposed to. Or two, he didn't know what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So the information was passed on to the right people, and they went and talked to the dad. And they investigated it, and I don't know what they did, what they said, how they said it. The only thing I did was take the information and give it to them.
Got you. So I assume it was just looked at and then didn't really go
I knew that
anywhere.
if it would go anywhere, they'd let me know.
Sure. Because go ahead, Josie.
I was going to say, like, why did the sheriff's department end up with the remain? Like, if the investigation started with you at the Beckley Police Department, why did
And state police
and state
actually,
police right together? Yeah. Why didn't that information and that evidence? Why wasn't it sent to you guys? Like, what was the?
Well, at that time, the hunter found it, and he called 911.
Mm-hmm.
911 dispatched Raleigh County Sheriff's Department.
Right.
Well, at that time, they had no idea who it was at that particular day.
Oh, so it was never connected. So that's.
And then the chief of the detectives was so convinced that it was the Root girl.
Mm.
I wished he'd have kept the investigation, and immediately done the DNA, or at least let Kent Dodd look at the pictures of the jewelry and the keys.
You could do that in a way. I mean, you would think you would want, that would be part of the case. It'd be like, can you identify this body?
I'd call him and say, hey, look, we found some keys and necklaces that I want you to take a look at and see if it means anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And At the time she disappeared, I told him, I said, Kent, have you ever bought Margie any necklaces? Yeah. He said, I've bought her a few. I said, name them for me. And we documented them all.
Mm-hmm.
And we also said, have you got a picture of her wearing any necklaces? Yes. We got pictures of butterfly necklaces and so on. And we documented them. And he even described some that she had bought for herself.
Mm-hmm.
She rarely bought a plain necklace. It was always had some kind of meaning, a butterfly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we documented all that at the time of her disappearance in case we'd find somebody later on. And say, for instance, if she had a charm on it that was a cross, well, that's a possibility. Let's look and see. And there's normally always hair in a necklace.
Yeah.
But
was there some strong conviction of why they thought it was Susan Roop, or was that ever not relayed?
No idea. He would never tell me why he thought that. And he told me if he needed my help on the case, he'd ask for it. And I told him, okie doke.
Gotcha. And some people have different processes, but unfortunately, that's a big misstep, that could have at least gave Kent a couple decades worth of, but also, who knows if you know that who that is that early? Who knows what pops up because of that? Gets the conversation
Location on the body has got to mean something.
Where did they find? How far off the main road? Do you remember?
It was just, from what I understand, it wasn't very far at all.
Mm.
In the area of what they say, Bolt Mountain.
Bolt Mountain.
Would it have been like an expensive test at the time to have? Would that have been like a deterrent if like...
It was an expensive test at the time if you wanted it done really fast.
Okay.
But if you send it to the FBI, for instance, they was such a backlog on DNA, but you'd still eventually get it.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, do that.
Mm-hmm.
But look what Van Meter did. Within 2 days, he had the money from somewhere. He went bumming and got the money and had it done and had a result in 2 weeks.
When was he?
That's awesome.
When did he first get elected? Was it the beginning of 2017? Was that when he took office?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Shout out Van Meter.
He's now our
County
clerk.
County clerk.
I was going to say circuit clerk, but no, they said county clerk.
Well,
and he didn't do this for a pat on the back. He did it because it was the right thing to do.
Is that what he told you?
Yeah, he said, it's police work.
And he used to do, like, he was heavily involved, I think I read, with the state police with cold cases. Is that correct? So, like, this was something that he was familiar with. And
Man, well, so there's still a final step, which obviously is finding out who did it. Where does the case stand today? Like, what would which I know you're retired, but what would have to happen for this to get solved?
Very little. If you know something or think you know something, to bust that dam, sometimes you just got to pull a thread. And it's unbelievable what little small information can get something started. And you give that information, and there may be a month go by and you think, it wasn't no good information. Then all of a sudden, all heck breaks loose because the case is solved.
Yeah.
That one bit of information is just enough to get you a toehold in and get you going in the right direction.
Yeah, man. And I've been in touch with Captain Larry Lilly, and they've been very friendly and are collaborative. And me and Josie are trying to obtain some evidence, whatever's allowed to be released publicly. So they're working with us, and trust me, everyone wants to get this thing solved. So if you know anything, let's go. If you did it, I mean, it's time to close this for this family. I mean, come on.
If you don't mind, I'd like to mention one thing. I don't want the public to think when I mentioned that old police car a while ago,
Sure.
I don't want them to think that we just brushed that by the side.
Mm-hmm.
We actually tried to get a search warrant for that car and wasn't allowed it. They said you don't have quite enough information to get a search warrant for it. So I went to Mayor McAuliffe at that time of Beckley. And I told him I want to buy a car and told him why. He said, let's do it. And we sent in a stranger, went down there and told him, I just drove by and looked at that car and I like the looks of that thing. You wouldn't want to sell it, would you? The guy told him no. He said, give you $500 for it. And the guy said, ooh, that's tempting. He said, make it $7. And the guy said, you got it. We bought that car for $700.
No
Because
way.
we couldn't get a search warrant. We took it into the police garage.
Right.
We totally dismantled that car. We took the back seat out and there were blood under the back seat.
Really?
But blood was so diluted that the labs couldn't tell us if it was even animal or human. They said it's blood, but it's had bleach and everything on
Oh
it.
my goodness.
But I didn't want the public to think, hey, I threw a police car out there and we didn't do anything.
Man, thank you for telling me that. I mean, that could
We
have
tried
solved
doing
it.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
How
we-
early you knew about that car?
Probably 2 months.
And then you obtained it what year
We
after?
obtained it about a week after we knew about it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
We found the blood under the back seat and a necklace.
and it was diluted because it also had bleach and someone.
It had bleach, it had soap, it had everything in it so bad that it destroyed any evidential value.
So probably it would have been like that, as if you'd have got it the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
Okay.
ever find out who the necklace belonged to?
No. I know who had one. I know that Margie had described as having a necklace very similar to
To that.
that.
Really?
But it was one of those very genetic. I mean, everybody had one.
It feels like we're right there of just connecting that final foot of information.
But,
Mm.
there's somebody out there that may be listening to this. Said, man, you guys are going the whole wrong way. Well, give us a call and tell us which way.
That's fine. Yeah.
If you know that we're going wrong, then you know something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tell us which way. And like I say one more time, you don't have to call me. Call any policeman you want to call. I don't care who it is. I don't care who gets the credit for it. Us give them the satisfaction. Everybody's starting to get old in this case. Her mom and dad's already died. And everybody's starting to get up in the years. Us give them the relief knowing that the case was solved.
I think we can do it.
You talked about like the different stages of cases like this. Like initially it's, you don't know, like for missing persons, you don't know if they're alive or dead or who did it. You went through that. And then in 2017, you finally got to the point where, okay, you know that she's died, but you don't know who's done it officially. What do you think it would mean just to you, having been with this case for so long, as well as the family, to have that last bit of closure saying, okay, like we know what happened to her. We know who did this. What do you think that would mean?
I'd love to have the opportunity to get my car and go to Kent Dodd's house in Hampton, Virginia and say, Kent, get in the car. Let's go take a ride. And just go up on a mountaintop somewhere and just sit by the ocean or somewhere and just say, Kent, guess what, buddy? It's over. You've lived a hell of a life in the last 50 years. Wondering what happened to Margie. Here's what happened to her.
Whew. We got to make that happen. I think we can. Well, Frank, this is I really appreciate you doing this. It's it's a lot for someone to lay all this out the way Frank has, and you know, the life you lived. You know, I just appreciate, and I know there's people like you out there still at work doing this every day, and thank you.
I appreciate it, and thank you for what you're doing. If you can't get the word out, then no matter what you do, it's useless. You got to get the word out, and it's so important. And I hesitated doing this, and I know how important that you take this. And I first told myself, I'm not going to do it. And I know that there's some of the areas that you do, it's fun and games.
Right.
But I also know that you're all business on something like this, and you know what you're doing.
Thank you.
And
it's because of Josie.
I try.
I made up my mind that I would never talk about this case again, that I'm out of it, letting you guys work it. But I said, I'm going to talk about it one more time. And this time, I mean it. I'll talk about it one more time after this one.
In court. Or
in court. Or saying, thank God it was solved.
Yeah. Let's go. All right. Josie, thank you for being here. Frank, I think we said it all. Let me go ahead and close it up with, if you, man, what do I say after that? I'm just so grateful for this episode. And if you liked it, please like this video and subscribe to Creepalachia on YouTube if you haven't already. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, take a moment, leave a review. That'll really help the show be found. And also, we are on Facebook and TikTok. And if you know something, DM the Facebook page, email me at creepalachia@gmail.com. You know, dial 911, call your nearest police officer. Let's just get these tips flowing and try to solve this for this family. And last but not least, above all else, everyone, always remember, long live Appalachia and rest in peace, Margie Dodd.